Hi there. Our website's part of your SMB SaaS offering. At Mono, we're dedicated to guiding our partners on everything around websites. So whether you're looking for a do-it-yourself solution, collaborative do-with-me approach, or full-service do-it-for-me setup, the Mono platform delivers the ultimate technology to help you and your small business clients grow. Beyond websites, Mono also offers a variety of SMB-friendly digital marketing solutions. Want to know more? Reach out to us. Mono, we drive business.
Thanks, Paul. Now Charles will lead a discussion with Isaac Hunja, a co-founder of Sky.Garden. Sky.Garden is a Kenyan e-commerce platform that is empowering small artisans to sell their wares directly to a broader market. It's the kind of business model that is transforming the lives of small businesses across the continent. We're excited to hear Isaac's perspective on the exploding African e-commerce industry and its bright future. Charles, back to you to close out BigFive's first virtual summit. We hope you've all enjoyed today's event.
Thank you, Lyndon. And welcome, Isaac. We're happy to have you here to talk about e-commerce in Africa, which is a huge opportunity, also a very difficult business to execute, as I'm sure you're better aware than anyone. So what we'd like to start off with before we really get into the nitty-gritty of e-commerce is just for you to talk about Sky.Garden and your origin story and the niche that you fill in the African e-commerce space.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Very, very honored to speak at this virtual summit. So Sky.Garden, we've been at it for the last 5 years or so, and I've been part of the journey from the beginning. And the origin stories here was when we looked at the continent, we saw Kenya as a good starting point, basically just because of all the access to the different players when it comes to payments, when it comes to logistics, and also the maturity of the market when it comes to tech and adoption of tech. What we did see, however, was lots of sellers that had great products to sell, but not the right platforms to sell them on. And the platforms that did exist at the time were either classifieds that weren't trusted, or much bigger players that were hosting a lot of bigger merchants that had much larger brand equity and lots of stock to be able to host in a warehouse, and had much more solid cash flow, were able to take payments after 2 weeks after delivery has been completed to a customer, so on and so forth. So we really saw an opportunity there, and we spoke to lots of merchants, thousands of merchants, doing research, walking into their stores, sitting down with them, understanding what are their pain points, what are their wishes, what's their wish list if they were to be able to actually develop an e-commerce platform themselves. And that's what we took to our development team and began developing Sky.Garden. So yeah, in a nutshell, Sky.Garden is just a double-layered e-commerce tool. We like to call it a business tool rather than just an e-commerce platform. We have a marketplace where customers are able to access the product that merchants upload using an app or a desktop seller center. But our primary focus is just that the business tools that the sellers use, and the marketplace is a secondary focus for the business.
Okay, a couple quick follow-ups there. One is, you sort of talk about the big tech, the big e-commerce platforms, and if you're not sort of have some scale, if you're a small player, you just sort of get pushed way down the chain, and it's very difficult to even get noticed or be seen. So talk about a little more detail on who your customer is. My sense is it's the micro, from micro to medium to small, I guess. But you tell us.
Yeah, so exactly, medium to small is our primary seller right now, and we've seen that these guys are a lot hungrier in terms of actually using the tools that we put in their hands. Mm-hmm. They're actually they want to sell more than a big behemoth of a company that's been running for decades even. So To give you an example, we have an amazing seller that sells handmade products, handmade facial care products, and she makes them out of her home, and she's selling more than the P&Gs and the Unilevers that do sell on Sky.Garden as well, because she understands that the tools that we've given her are there to accelerate her business. So she actually takes the time to sit down with the marketing tools and look at the analytics that we present to her, and she makes business decisions based on those and actually pushes her brand forward. So Sky.Garden was built for the medium to small-sized enterprises, but because of the tools that we've built, we have attracted much bigger sellers. The likes of Apple have come to us and have used our tools because they get to see visibility all the way from manufacturers all the way to the last mile customer. So we were quite shocked to see that what we built is attractive to the entire spectrum of sellers in the market, but we still try to focus on the medium to small sized sellers.
So I'd like to actually go on a little bit of a tangent and get into sort of, to use the A word, Amazon. One of the reasons sellers go on Amazon is the traffic, right? And so how do you address that issue of, I mean, great tools, great opportunity to establish a presence, but is it your customer's responsibility to drive traffic, or do you consider that your responsibility? Kind of talk about how that works.
That's a really good question, and it's something that we deal with every single day, because before we came into the market, all the other players in the market had educated merchants that once you come onto the platform, just sit back and wait for sales. We will do all the work for you to drive the traffic. So we have had to do the hard work in terms of educating these merchants that with Sky.Garden, it's a bit different. We don't have the marketing muscle that some of our competitors have. So we really see that it's not a smart route for us to go in terms of our unit economics, especially to spend on driving millions of eyes into the marketplace, and get some trickle down sales for anyone that catches attention of those customers that come into the marketplace. So we try to gamify the experience for sellers when they come onto the platform. Every seller has merchant points, and they have ratings and they have we've created a currency called Sky Coins, and they're able to use all of these different aspects and parameters within the platform to determine the success, for them to actually see that, okay, I started here, this is where I want to get to, and these are the tools and these are the strategies I can use within the platform to get there.
Okay. So the other thing that sort of interests me is the kind of what are whether they're technological or logistical or even regulatory challenges to realizing your business fully that you would identify, and sort of where do you think the process for fixing those is?
Yeah, so I usually say that we're much better at e-commerce than Amazon or Shopify or anyone else because of the challenges that we face on the continent.
Sure.
And I think one of the biggest ones I can speak about is just the logistics. How do we get product from point A to B? So Sky.Garden doesn't have a warehouse. We don't have any centralized point of pickup. We don't take any products and repackage them and then send them out to customers. We only touch a product once a sale happens, right? So we're completely decentralized. And that's been one of the catalysts to our business growing. But it's also been one of the biggest challenges to ensure that we are, number one, are not bleeding on the cost of delivery, and also that we're efficient with how we move products through the country. So we do deliveries all over the country, and you can imagine on a given day we have 100 customers. Some ordering one product from one merchant, some ordering two products from two different merchants, some ordering one big product like a fridge from one merchant, and then with an extension cable from another merchant. and these merchants are nowhere close to each other. So we've been able to really take all of these challenges, and we've built a really world-class system that allows us to match the right type of, or rather match an order to the right type of logistics company. So we don't own a warehouse, we don't own any riders or any fleet, but we've partnered with the best logistics companies in the game to ensure that we're moving products at the right cost and at the right time.
Mm-hmm. So I want to actually, I want to get into a little bit of sort of what, I'll ask this now, and we'll get to the sort of the COVID question in a little bit, because that's the inevitable question, right? What impact that's had. But before we get there, sort of, you were talking about the logistics piece. It makes me think, when you look at a company like yours, and you think about what is our core value for, let's say, investors, or for, you know, to drive your valuation of your business, what would you say it is? What is your unique thing that justifies the value of your business?
I would say empowerment. We really are empowering the next generation of entrepreneurs on the African continent. And we're doing it in Kenya now, but we have our eyes on Uganda, we have our eyes on Egypt, we have our eyes on Nigeria, because we see that our product is light, firstly. We're able to scale into different markets, and we're able to partner with logistics companies, and we already have legs in various other markets when it comes to the payments integrator that we use by the name of Interswitch. We're able to really scale and give thousands and thousands and thousands of sellers the ability to increase their reach, increase their radius, just by way of a smartphone. So I really see that as our key value, just empowerment.
Okay, that's great. And you mentioned the phone, and I'm assuming that most of your, at least the small shops working on your platform, are doing everything through a smartphone. It's a mobile experience. Well, and is that as true on their merchant, as a merchant, but also as the consumer, the buyer of their solutions? Kind of talk about that chain and how much of that's mobile, and how you design the business accordingly.
Yeah, so 85% of our traffic comes through mobile when it comes to consumers, and we designed mobile first. So if you rewind back about 3 years, if you try to access the Sky.Garden marketplace as a customer on your desktop, you would find a mobile experience. White side.
Well, that's a good start. That's where you start, right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, there's a delivery at my door.
That is the inevitable.
Oh, man.
Working without a net here. Yeah, it's all good. Folks, this is live television. That's how it goes sometimes.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I was expecting a barking dog, but instead, it's the delivery. It's inevitable. I think it's funny. I mean, we've since this sort of virtual thing has become the norm. I mean, things that used to be mortifying, like are just not a problem at all. Like, having a barking dog while you're on the phone with a CEO, and it's like, well, no one cares. So it's all good. Anyway, picking up where we were. Yeah. So, well, let's just shift gears and talk a little bit. We were talking the mobile first experience. I'm not sure if you have more to add there, but why don't I shift gears? Kind of the question I meant really to start with ultimately was, how much has COVID driven your business, or is your business what it is independent of that? Can I talk about how you sort of factor out or in the COVID effect?
I think we can look at this in different phases. So when COVID just hit Kenya and we had our first few cases and there was panic buying and everyone was fighting for toilet paper in the streets, I think that's when we saw the biggest shift in the business, especially when it came to our sellers' behavior on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
saw a lot of shops closing because the sellers can just go into the app and turn their shops offline, because they didn't have access to their stores anymore, maybe out of fear or out of restrictions. Maybe the building that they sell in was closed down for one reason or the other. And then they didn't have access to stock coming into the country as the ports were closed. So because of all of those different factors, the active stock on the platform came down by, I don't know what percentage, but by quite a bit. So there was a
Huge inventory challenge. Yeah.
inventory challenge.
Yeah.
And then we saw, lots of panic buying for the hand sanitizers and the face masks.
Yeah.
The sellers caught wind of that and priced the hand sanitizer exorbitantly, and a face mask was like $5.
Right.
It was crazy. But then one of the accelerating factors that we saw after a couple of weeks was the sellers that we had always wanted to have on the platform, especially when it came to FMCG, were now knocking on our door, saying, hey, we need your help, we need your assistance, get us involved, get us on the platform. So that was a very, very positive shift for us. We also saw FMCG on the platform, which already existed, really skyrocketing, which I'm sure it has for most other e-commerce platforms, because people couldn't go to the supermarkets as they would. And that hasn't changed. I think our numbers went up, and we've been coasting at a good level now, because the market was educated, like just flipped a switch.
Right. That's kind of what I was thinking would be, there's disruptions, yet what ultimately happened is more people used e-commerce and then continued to use it, right? So that you kind of shifted your available market up a level that might have taken years otherwise, right? So let's talk about a couple of sort of more industry type of questions. One is you kind of referred to a few different partners, and there's a whole ecosystem that has to enable what you do, right? So you can't do it all alone. You have to use a lot of partners for, payments, logistics, whatever it is. Is that ecosystem robust enough? Or do you think it needs some either some startup infusion or some investor infusion or some global companies coming in, whatever it is? What do you think is needed for that ecosystem to be as robust as you think it should be?
I think especially this year, we've seen a huge influx of logistics companies cropping up all over the place. That's been a really, really positive thing to see for us, because we're able to partner with the right type of companies. And what I would say is lacking is the quality of the logistics. So lots of people that have companies that have bikes and riders, and end of story. But we need a lot more than that. We need to be able to track these riders. We need to be able to assure, because this is the only touch point we have with our customers. If the riders arrive at the customer's doorstep looking all shabby,
right,
of alcohol, and doesn't know how to present himself, which has happened lots of times,
right.
That's a big problem. But I think the biggest thing that we need in the market right now is tech when it comes to logistics. So right now we have about 3 different logistics companies that we have plugged into from an API to API perspective. That allows us to have a lot more tracking capability for the customers, and allows us to be able to move products a lot more seamlessly and efficiently. So I think that's what is needed to really have it as a much more robust ecosystem.
Okay, great. And one final question, which is, I guess, sort of related, because you mentioned all the logistics startups, but how do you see like VC money and other sources of capital flowing into e-commerce companies? Is that, how would you describe it now? And what do you think needs to happen for that interest to maintain over the next few years?
I think this year before COVID was a really positive. There was really positive interest from a lot of investors, and then COVID hit and they all backed away. But I think what needs to happen is a lot more partnerships, and international partnerships within the continent.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Sky.Garden being a business tool, we want to be able to have sellers selling on other platforms, but hosting their stock on Sky.Garden, right? So that with Sky.Garden, all your inventory is the hub, but you're able to sell on Jumia, you're able to sell on Shopify, you're able to sell on your WordPress account and
Mm-hmm.
use logistics and checkout capabilities to complete the order and to accelerate your sales. I think with all of that synergy and integration within the different players in the market, that's when we're actually going to see growth in the ecosystem and make it a lot more approachable for investors to come in and say, okay, this is actually working. Because I think right now with the competition that is happening, where we're just seeing people cutting each other down, and we don't really see the consistent growth of any company happening in the marketplace right now. So I think we just need a lot more deep integration rather than just wide integration.
That's a matter of market maturity to some degree, right? I would think, yeah. Great. Well, look, I'm afraid we have to end it there. I think there's a lot more we could talk about clearly, but it's been a great conversation. Appreciate you coming on. No worries about the delivery. That's par for the course. Anyway, thank you very much. And we appreciate you making the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, great. Take care. Thank you.